So how do you actually become a millionaire as a teenager? I mean, it sounds like an impossible question, right? But according to entrepreneur Iman Gadzhi, it's not really about luck. It's about having a specific framework. So let's dive into this breakdown of his 7 core principles for hitting that massive level of success at such a young age. I mean, that's a pretty bold claim to start with. Gadzhi is very clear that, yeah, this is not a normal outcome, but he insists it wasn't just a fluke. He says it was the direct result of the principles we're about to break down. This really sets the stage for a roadmap that he believes pretty much anyone can follow.
So, how did he do it? Well, Gadzhi chalks it all up not just to luck and good timing, but to sticking to these 7 specific principles. And look, these aren't just, some quick business hacks. They're a whole approach to building your character, your discipline, and your long-term vision. Let's get into the first set.
All right, so this first batch of principles, it's kind of interesting because it has almost nothing to do with making money directly. Instead, it's all about building the person you need to be to actually handle success, both in how you see yourself and, just as importantly, how the world sees you.
Okay, principle number 1. To become a king, you've got to learn to be a pawn first. And what I love about this slide is the contrast. Yeah, the goal is to be the captain, to be the king. But Gadzhi's whole point is you just can't skip the part where you're the ball boy. Paying your dues, respecting your elders, and learning the whole process from the ground up.
Yeah, and this quote, man, it just cuts right to the heart of the mistake he sees so many young people making. It's this sense of entitlement, this desire to jump straight to the top without putting in the work. His whole point is that you have to start with the pawn mindset. The one with no resources, no connections, not the king who's already on top. You just have to earn your stripes.
Okay, so once you've got that mindset dialed in, principle number 2 kicks in. And this one is all about perception. When you're young, especially in the business world, people are actively looking for reasons to write you off. Gadzhi's advice is super simple. Don't let your appearance be one of those reasons. The whole idea here is to dress to elevate yourself.
And look, the key here is it's got to be practical. He's not telling you to walk around in a 3-piece suit 24/7. Instead, he suggests this timeless, classic look. As you can see, it's all about avoiding the flashy brand names and just embracing simple, smart clothes that fit well. It lets you hold your own in any room without looking like you're trying too hard.
All right, principle number 3 is a big one, ego. And for Gadzhi, this lesson came from a pretty painful, real-world experience. At just 17 years old, right after dropping out of school, he hired his first full-time employee, and that person quit in less than a week. He's actually said it was one of the very few times he ever cried. That's how much it hit him.
And that led to this brutal question he had to ask himself. It was a serious, humbling moment that forced him to realize he wasn't the boy genius he thought he was. See, his point is, you need something outside of yourself, whether it's business or combat sports or whatever, to keep that ego in check. Because if you don't have that, you really do become your own worst enemy.
That whole idea of an external check on your ego, it actually leads perfectly into our next section. This part focuses on the intense discipline you need to have for early success, especially when it comes to who you let into your life. So principle number 4, it's super direct. He says, avoid casual dating. Gadzhi's argument is that your teens and early 20s are your absolute peak building years. He sees casual dating as just this huge distraction from that mission, forcing you to waste time and energy competing in what is a pretty brutal modern dating culture. The alternative? Either stay focused or find a serious day-one partner who actually supports your vision.
And he really, really doesn't mince words about how valuable that kind of partner is. He emphasizes that all the flashy stuff, all the fun that comes with success, it doesn't even come close to the value of having someone who is right there with you from the very beginning. So for him, it's one or the other. Find that person or just focus 100% on your work.
Now, this next principle, number 5, it basically applies that exact same discipline, but to your friendships. It's so important to understand the difference you see on this slide. An acquaintance, lots of people can know of you, but a real friend, that's someone who is truly loyal, like a brother in arms.
So the takeaway here is really simple. Be polite, be courteous to everybody, build a big network, have a large sphere of influence, and never burn bridges. But the people you actually trust, your inner circle, he's saying that needs to be incredibly small, super tight-knit, and full of good people who genuinely have your back.
Okay, let's get to the final set of principles. This is all about what happens after you've made it. It's not about getting the money, it's about what you do once you have it. This is all about stewardship and how to grow what you've built for the long haul.
And this right here, this is the central challenge, isn't it?
The sixth principle is all about understanding that getting successful early brings this immense pressure. I mean, it's one thing to hit that first million, but it's a whole other ballgame to keep that up year after year. So Gaji sees getting successful early as this profound test. He believes that if you're blessed with that kind of wealth at a young age, it's a trial to see if you can handle it. And his warning is, well, it's pretty stark. If you don't find ways to humble yourself, the universe will do it for you, and with a ferocity you can't even imagine.
And that brings us right to the seventh and final principle, which is super actionable. The idea is simple. As soon as you make real money, get it away from yourself. Move it into things that are hard to sell on an impulse, like property or physical gold. The whole goal is to make it hard for your younger self to mess things up, because let's be honest, at that age, you're probably your own worst enemy.
And you know what's so interesting here? It's the psychology behind it. Trying to show off with a supercar when you're 19, it doesn't even work. People don't think you earned it. They just assume you got lucky or that it's your dad's money. He's basically saying you're so much better off just investing that money, staying low-key, and enjoying it later when people might actually believe you earned it.
So when you kind of step back and look at the whole picture, these 7 principles aren't just random tips. You see that they really form a complete blueprint for your path forward. It's a whole approach covering character, discipline, and strategy, and it's designed for anyone ambitious enough to give it a shot.
All right, so let's do a super quick recap of all 7. First, be a pawn before you can be a king. Second, dress to elevate how people perceive you. Third, find external forces to keep you humble. Fourth, avoid casual dating and focus on building. Fifth, keep your inner circle incredibly small. Sixth, understand that success is a test. And finally, number 7, invest your money early in things you can't easily get to.
And that right there brings us to the end. Looking at this list, it's pretty clear that a lot of these principles push back against modern culture. So I guess the final question I want to leave you with is this. Which one of these do you think is the absolute hardest for young people to master today, and what makes it so difficult to follow?